Hey there in St. Louis, people are violently protesting the death of a suspected heroin dealer. If you think that's just stupid, you're listening to the right podcast. Meanwhile, in Hollywood, millionaire movie stars prove they can pat themselves on the back with one hand while giving you the finger with the other. The great troll Michael Knowles will be here to discuss that, and it looks like an interesting week upcoming in politics, so we'll talk about that too. But first, large celebrations continue in St. Louis in the wake of the acquittal of former police officer Jason Stockley for his shooting of suspected drug dealer Anthony Lamar Smith. Black Lives Matter advocates are carrying signs saying, "Thanks, Officer Stockley," and many express their delight that one of the members of the thin blue line that protects black lives from criminals like heroin dealers will not be punished for doing his job. As BLM spokeswoman Letitia Unicorn told reporters, quote, "If there's one thing I've learned as a black woman who has experienced real prejudice in this life, it's that a person should never be judged by the color of his skin. I don't care if a police officer is white, he's there to protect me and my neighborhood, and I don't want some lowlife who's out there selling poison to my neighbors to have even the slightest chance of doing him harm. So I'm personally thrilled that Officer Stockley has been found not guilty," unquote. In the wake of the verdict, activists gathered in mostly low-income black neighborhoods to voluntarily paint houses and sweep the sidewalks in front of storefronts in order to raise property values and bring a greater sense of dignity and pride to the area. Interviewed as he was helping to repair a porch step, the Reverend Al Fantasy Jr. told a reporter, quote, "Every time I see the video that shows that heroin dealer ramming his car twice into Officer Stockley's police vehicle, I'm just so glad it was the dealer who died and not an officer of the law," unquote. In an impromptu sermon on the sidewalk, the Reverend Fantasy told local men that in honor of Officer Stockley's victory, they should start to repent of their sinful ways and marry the women who bore their children. "If we start to take a little responsibility for ourselves around here," the Reverend said, "maybe we won't have so many drug dealers in our neighborhoods and our police officers won't have to shoot them to protect themselves, us, and our families," unquote. Covering the jubilant demonstrations on the street, CNN reporter Lance Gormless told anchorman Wolf Blitzer, quote, "You know, Wolf, when I look around and see the relief on these good people's faces because they know that police officers like Jason Stockley won't be discouraged from doing what needs to be done to keep their neighborhoods safe, it makes me think maybe we at CNN should stop slanting our stories in order to turn thugs into heroes and cops into criminals. Not only would that be a tremendous help in improving these suffering urban areas, but it might increase our viewership if we told the truth from time to time," unquote. The celebration of Officer Stockley's acquittal is scheduled to last until I wake up and return to reality when everything will be stupid again. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety. I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, the Klavanless weekend is over. I like that opening. It was like being on a drug trip, you know. It was kind of like 3 minutes of LSD. Michael Knowles will be here to talk about the Emmys. And we've got, you know, I have to tell you, we've got this thing, The Conversation, which is coming up tomorrow, right? Ben Shapiro will be on Facebook Live at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. He'll be there for a whole hour. Anyone can watch, but if you subscribe for a lousy $10 a month, you can ask him questions yourself and he will answer them. And if you subscribe for a year for a lousy $100, you get the Leftist Tears tumbler. And actually, while Ben speaks, the Leftist Tears tumbler magically fills up with Leftist Tears. So that really works very well. It all kind of comes together if you're a subscriber. I've been talking, speaking of Michael Knowles, I've been talking for a while about the fact that he and I are putting together this podcast of my latest book, and we've been working on it, and it has been, I have to tell you, we thought it was going to be a breeze. It has been, we have run into so many problems. We are overcoming them one by one, but it is unbelievable. The sound work, that we're trying to find engineers who put the thing together and give us the kind of quality we need. So the other day I thought, like, how do I find out about this? And I went on Skillshare and I just, searched doing a podcast, and up comes video after video after video, how to do a podcast. I haven't watched those yet, but I have watched others on writing and things that I know about, and they are really useful. What they are is they're video classes, video classrooms, and it's an online, Skillshare is an online learning community with over 17,000 classes in design, business, and more. You can learn everything from logo design to social media marketing to street photography, podcasting, which is a good thing to learn about, unlimited access to all of this for one low monthly price. So you never have to pay per class again, and you don't get that thing you get on so many apps where they're in the middle of the class and suddenly it runs out and you have to pay more. That doesn't happen. You just pay the one fee. And it's all kinds of things: design, photography, marketing, entrepreneurship, tech, business, other things like cooking, watercolor, and calligraphy. If you're trying to change your profession, trying to get better at your profession, or just trying to learn a new hobby. Skillshare is giving my listeners a month of unlimited access, absolutely free, so you can try it out. Go to www.skillshare.com/Andrew to redeem a free month. www.skillshare.com/Andrew. You get a free month. You can try out all the classes. Really interesting stuff and worthwhile. All right, just let's take a quick survey before I want to talk about St. Louis, then we'll get to the Emmys with Knowles. But before that, I just want to say we've got a very interesting week in politics coming up ahead. Tomorrow, Trump is going to address the UN, which should be really, really interesting. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I guess he's going to be talking to Kim Jong-un, sending a little message to him. I think Nikki Haley, our ambassador to the UN, sounds like she is just about done. Like the whole diplomacy thing was fun to try, but we're moving on. Dana Bash said to her, when Trump said he's going to deliver fire and fury, was that just an empty threat? Listen to her response.
The president said last month that North Korea would face fire and fury if it continues to threaten the U.S. and its allies. Well, since the president said that, North Korea has really done nothing but threaten the U.S. and its allies. North Korea threatened Guam. North Korea fired 2 missiles over Japan and tested a hydrogen bomb. So was the president's fire and fury remark an empty threat?
It was not an empty threat. What we were doing was being responsible. Where North Korea is being irresponsible and reckless, we were being responsible by trying to use every diplomatic possibility that we could possibly do. We've pretty much exhausted all the things that we could do at the Security Council at this point. Now, I said yesterday, I'm perfectly happy kicking this over to General Mattis because he has plenty of military options. So I think that the fire and fury, while he said this is what we can do to North Korea, we wanted to be responsible and go through all diplomatic means to get their attention first. If that doesn't work, General Mattis will take care of it.
That's a pretty big threat. So that's going to be interesting to see what Trump is talking about in the UN. Also, this is the other thing that this is kind of sneaking under the radar. The Senate may revisit the health care, the Obamacare thing, the repeal and replace. Lindsey Graham, of all people, who is Mr. Security. I mean, I don't know what he knows. It's kind of weird when the security expert in the Senate is putting up a health care bill, but he's got a bill that basically turns control of health care markets over to the states. As Graham puts it, if you like your Obamacare, you can keep your Obamacare, but if you don't, you can get rid of it to the states. Interesting. They're saying they'll vote on that if they can put together 50 votes. And the other one, this is a dopey story. The Paris Climate Accords. The Wall Street Journal runs a piece saying Trump is not going to pull out of the Climate Paris Accords. So now they've got all these different officials. They have the National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster. He says, no, that story is untrue. Here's McMaster.
That's a false report. The president decided to pull out of the Paris Accord because it was a bad deal for the American people and because it was a bad deal for the environment. It gave the worst polluters the ability to continue polluting and emitting carbon and without significantly reducing those levels. The president is committed to the cleanest water on Earth, the cleanest air on Earth, to an energy policy that reduces carbon emissions, but then also provides clean fossil fuels to generate growth in this country and globally. And these priorities, he felt we could not pursue effectively within this flawed agreement.
So he's out of the Paris Climate Accord.
He's out of the Paris Climate Accord, but he has said the door's open. Just if you look at what he said on the day that he announced withdrawing from the accord, he said at some point in the future, if there can be a deal that addresses these fundamental flaws.
But the allies say they're not going to renegotiate.
Well, the president's ears are open, though.
So now the story is, well, we said he was, and he is, or isn't he? Are we in? Are we out? It's like Ocean's 11. Are we in or are we out? You know, it's all when you go, McMaster is absolutely right. Go back to Trump's announcement. This was back in June. It's exactly what he said. Listen to this.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord, but begin negotiations to re-enter either the Paris Accord or in really entirely new transaction on terms that are fair to the United States, its businesses, its workers, its people, its taxpayers. So we're getting out, but we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. And if we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine.
So the story is everything is exactly the same, except the press is confused. That's the story. The story is they keep saying, oh, we're in, we're out, we're betrayed. As he stabbed us in the back. He's doing exactly what he said he was doing. It's not even a story. All right, we're going to talk about St. Louis and then the Emmys. But first, you know, I've talked a lot about Omaha Steaks because they send me a couple of their meat packages, and they are so incredibly good. It really is a different level of meat, and you grill it out in the back, and it's just really terrific. And they have some skillet meals and all this stuff. Now they have got a new offer if you want to share this as a gift, or if you want to even just get a huge dose of Omaha Steaks for yourself. They have got this new package they are advertising that you can send it right to people, and you will get tons of genuine aged steaks, premium meats, and it comes with everything you want. It's got a Weber kettle grill and accessories, and they also have a smoking experience and a sous vide experience. This is supposed to be the way, sous vide is supposed to be this way that you can get an absolutely perfect steak. It's cooking with water. I don't really know what it is, but you know, that's supposed to be. It's an incredibly memorable gift experience delivered to anyone's door and 100% guaranteed satisfaction. You can send this exclusive gift package. It is just $499, but listen to what you get. It's a lot of money, but this really is going to last. It's for a giant selection of meats plus everything you need to start grilling today. Tons of filet mignon, New York strips, ribeyes, and T-bone steaks, gourmet brats, signature burgers, pork chops, chicken breasts, Omaha Steaks gourmet steak rubs, charcoal chimney starter, digital meat thermometer, complete grilling tool set, plus you'll get a 22-inch Weber original kettle grill. Really good deal for just a lousy $500. And just for my listeners, the new package delivers for only $499. Go to omahasteaks.com, type Andrew in the search bar, and choose your ultimate Omaha Steaks experience. Again, visit omahasteaks.com and enter code Andrew in the search bar to get this one-of-a-kind experience today. And like I said, their meat is really at another level. It really is another thing to start eating. So it's good stuff. All right. I'm sure you've heard about these riots is too strong, these protests in St. Louis. They are peaceful during the day. At night, there's been, like, I don't know, somewhere around 100 arrests. Policemen have been attacked. Windows have been broken. And you know, at this point, I just sort of hear these stories out of the corner of my ear. But I thought, let me find out what this is about. Okay, so in 2011, Jason Stockley, a police officer at the time, now he's not an officer anymore, he's now living in Houston. Jason Stockley and his partner, Brian Bianchi, pull up in back of a guy who's parked in the parking lot of a Church's Chicken, and he's selling drugs. I mean, I have to say alleged because it's never proved, but according to the police officers, and they've got him on video, he's going in and out of the store, he's going back to his car. Later, according to the police officers, again, they found heroin in his car. He's going in and out. They park in back of him. The guy jumps in his car, rams the police officers twice. By the way, in the New York Times version of this, and the New York Times is like always prides themselves on their being the complete story, all the news that's fit to print. They leave this out. He rams the cop car twice. So he's using his vehicle as a deadly weapon, takes off. Stockley and Bianchi chase after him. It's a 3-minute high-speed chase. At some point, the car spins out of control. The alleged dealer, the accused heroin dealer, Smith, crashes the car. You hear Stockley on tape, according to the court transcripts. He says, "We're going to kill this MF. Don't you know it?" Okay. I mean, who knows if he's serious or not, but at this point he is. He gets out. The other cop gets out. They surround him. They shout, "Get out of the car." There are lots of cops looking in. According to the testimony of the police officers, he doesn't get out of the car. Smith doesn't get out of the car. He's rooting around in the car, and Stockley sees a gun, opens fire, and kills him. 2011, right? Nothing happens. 2016, 5 years later, they bring him up on charges of murder. Stockley says, I waive my right to a jury trial. I just want a judge because he doesn't want it to get, I guess, this is me guessing, I guess he doesn't want it to be all emotional. He wants a judge to rationally take a look at it. The judge looks at it. Now, remember, this is 5, 6 years later. The prosecutor said there was new evidence, but nobody knows what this evidence was. Judge Timothy Wilson acquits Stockley, says, look, anybody in that situation might say, I'm going to kill that guy. We don't know the context and all this. They the prosecution claimed that the gun that they found in Smith's car was planted because only Stockley's DNA was on it. But any DNA expert will tell you that it's very hard to get DNA off a gun. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that it wasn't Smith's gun. And in what is the big controversial statement everyone's pointing to, Judge Timothy Wilson said, for an urban heroin dealer not to have a gun would be an anomaly in my experience as a judge. And everybody said, oh, he said urban, he meant black. Well, hey, if all he meant was urban, that works too, right? An urban heroin dealer is going to have a gun in the experience of this judge. Here is Stockley, the former officer, addressing this after the gag order is taken off. This is cut number 4.
I did not murder Anthony Lamar Smith. I did not plant a gun. As I testified at trial and to homicide on the day of, it was an imminent threat to my life. I had to. The taking of a life is the most significant thing that one can do. And it's not something that is done lightly. And it's not something that should ever be celebrated, and it's just a horrible experience altogether. But sometimes it's necessary.
Okay, and he goes on to talk about the fact that when a guy is resisting arrest, it always looks bad. And I know this from experience. I've seen a lot of arrests. I've been around a lot of cops. When somebody resists arrest, the cops have to react violently. A lot of times there's so much violence because they're trying not to hurt the guy. So 5 cops will pile on him because if one cop takes him on, you really have to hurt somebody to bring him down. But if 5 cops pile on, they can wrestle him to the ground. It always looks ugly. And he talks about the fact that you have to look at the facts, and the facts clear him. Now, these demonstrations, they're all, these demonstrations have gotten violent, but most of the people at these demonstrations are not being violent, okay? And so that's not the point. I mean, the point is, why on earth, how on earth did the world get so morally turned upside down that this neighborhood goes out and gets upset over the death of an alleged heroin dealer who, let's face it, I mean, he rammed a police car. You do not ram a police car if you're a decent everyday guy, right? How did they get to the point where that's a problem for them? Okay. I say this not because of the violence. I say it because of the protest itself. It reminds me of The Godfather. At the end of The Godfather, the police are the gangsters, and the gangsters are kind of acting as a police force. The whole moral world has been turned upside down. And that seems to me is what has happened. And it's not the fault of the people who are out there. They have a sense of injustice. I'm not talking about the black experience in America. I have no authority to talk about that. I know that a black guy is going to be treated differently by a cop than a white guy is going to be treated differently when his car gets stopped. I don't believe that's the police officer's fault. I believe it's the fault of all the bad guys who look like that innocent man who are committing crimes. But how did they get to the point? I mean, the question that I want to ask this guy, Fox News had an interview with just a guy walking by. His name was Wayne, and he's a protester. This is cut number 6. And Wayne is trying to say what would happen, why he feels this is an injustice. And they ask him, would it be the same thing? Would you feel the same way if the dealer was white? And here's Wayne's response.
Same set of circumstances. A guy with a bunch of priors, running from the cops, rammed a couple of vehicles, but he was white, the situation would be different.
I believe that they would have came after him, but I definitely believe they would have tried to bring him in alive.
Right. They don't kill him.
That's my firm belief. I feel like outside they actually pulling a gun. Nah. They would have brought him in.
Yeah. They would have took their time.
Come on, Cameron, let me not curse. But they would have beat the sleeves off of him. They would have beat the sleeves off of him. It would have been a standoff. They would have did whatever they had to do. They did whatever they had to do to get him.
Okay. So Wayne is telling you what, the way he sees it. Okay. That's his experience of life. Fair enough. I'm not trying to knock down this guy. But what I would have liked to ask him if I were out there is, Is this the problem in your life? Is this what's bringing your life down? Is this what has made your life not what you want it to be? Is it Jason Stockley? I mean, look, if Stockley went out and assassinated this guy, even if he is a heroin dealer, he should be put in prison. The judge decided that didn't happen. You know, I don't know what the right verdict is, but why assume it's the wrong verdict? And is this the problem? Are the police the problem in your neighborhood? Are they really the problem? You know, is that really what's going on? I just feel this is not the problem of the individuals out there, but their leaders and the press who sell a bill of goods that is essentially racist, that if a white cop shoots a black guy, then somehow that is a racial incident because of the color of the people's skin. It's racism straight up, as our friends on the left like to say. That is racism straight up. And this is it's a human thing to, when you see, look, let's say you are an oppressed person. You're working in the fields, and the guy who's oppressing you is sitting on the veranda of his plantation. You're going to say, like, whatever that guy's doing is working, and whatever I'm doing is not working, and you're going to adopt his values. And that's what I feel a lot of these people have done with the help from our friends on the left and with the help of the press. They've said, look, racism worked for these people. Now you adopt it, and it's going to work for you. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I cannot believe that people are out on the streets activated to violence by the death of a heroin dealer who's poisoning their children, poisoning their neighbors, selling them this garbage that ruins your life. A cop shot him. Okay, yeah, explore that. Of course you should. But that's the problem in your life. It is just stupid, and there's nobody saying it. There's nobody saying the entire premise of this protest is wrong. They're all saying, well, it's not as violent as people are saying. It's not. I don't care if it's violent or not. Obviously, it shouldn't be violent. They have the right to protest, but they're protesting something stupid, and they ought to take a different look at their lives. And their leaders, their pastors, their activists, and the press ought to help them take that look. All right. Tracker, Trackr. Right? Because we don't use vowels anymore. I miss vowels, but tracker.com, it is a great little device. I have it in my pocket and I need it. Let me tell you, it is about the size of maybe a quarter. Maybe it's as big as a quarter, but it weighs about as much as a dime. It's really light. If you lose, I attached it to my keys. If I lose my keys, I go on my phone, there's an app, I press the app, my keys make a noise, and it tells you on the phone, because it's like Waze, other people are hooked up to it. It tells you, are you getting closer, or are you getting further away? I used it just the other day. I was hiking, dropped my keys. Uh-oh, where'd I go? You know, I don't want to have to climb up the mountain again. Used it, found them immediately, because it just tells you you're getting warmer, warmer, warmer. It's really easy to find. And if you do what I always do, you lose your phone, you press the tracker, and your phone rings even if it's turned off. So it really helps you find anything you need to find. It has really changed the game. It's called the Tracker Pixel, Trackr Pixel, because it's new, it's small. It really changes the whole game. It's the lightest Bluetooth tracking device on the market. You can put it anywhere you want, whatever you tend to lose, and it'll help you find it. And me, like, that I could like lose my wife, basically. I should put one on her. Oh yes, I can't stop. That's right. That's a joke, folks. I'm a joke. You don't track people with it. But anyway, Tracker's 30-day money-back guarantee means you truly have nothing to lose. Go to thetracker.com and enter the promo code Klavan. I don't know how to spell that. I work. These are the people I work with. It's Klavan. If you enter the promo code Klavan at thetracker.com, you'll get 20% off any order. That's thetracker.com, promo code Klavan for 20% off. Thetracker.com, promo code Klavan. It is a really, really useful device, especially for people like me. All right, we got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Come on over to thedailywire.com. You can hear the rest. You can watch the rest if you subscribe for a lousy $10. Michael Knowles is coming up to talk about the Emmys.